Let's talk about the woman who looked at the fashion industry's tired narrative about curvy women being grateful for basic representation and said, "Watch me prove that curves don't need fashion accommodation. Fashion needs to catch up to what curvy women are already doing," then proceeded to build such an undeniable style empire that brands, fashion authorities, and industry gatekeepers had to completely abandon their assumptions about curvy fashion and rebuild their entire approach around the revolutionary standards she created. We're diving deep into Morgan Lane's story, and this isn't just another curvy influencer success story that you scroll past without thinking twice. This is about raw fashion power, systematic industry disruption, and the complete transformation of curvy style standards that have told voluptuous women for decades that they should accept limited options and be grateful for basic inclusion instead of demanding the cutting-edge fashion leadership they deserve. Here's what makes Morgan's story absolutely revolutionary. While the fashion industry was still treating curvy women like they needed special consideration and modified trends, offering them watered-down versions of style, and expecting them to be thankful for crumbs, Morgan was building undeniable proof that curvy women don't want to be included in fashion, they want to lead it. But this goes deeper than personal success or even style innovation. This is about how Morgan Lane single-handedly shifted the entire conversation around curvy fashion authority, trend-setting power, and what it means to be a true fashion influencer in an industry that has traditionally treated curves as styling challenges rather than creative advantages that enhance every trend they touch. The timing of her rise couldn't have been more perfect, and she capitalized on every cultural shift like the strategic fashion genius she is. Morgan Lane's fashion revolution starts with the most fundamental decision she made. She refused to accept the fashion industry's patronizing approach to curvy style, instead positioning herself as living proof that curves don't need fashion adapted for them. They need fashion that's bold enough to match their natural power and confidence. Understanding the curvy fashion landscape Morgan entered is crucial to appreciating the magnitude of her achievement. The plus-size fashion space had been dominated by safe, apologetic content that treated curvy women like they needed permission to experiment with trends, colors, or bold styling choices. The messaging was consistently cautious: stick to black, avoid patterns, minimize rather than maximize, and always prioritize flattering over fashionable. Morgan looked at this restrictive approach and decided it was completely irrelevant to what curvy women actually wanted from fashion content and style inspiration. She understood that curves weren't limitations to work around. They were natural advantages that could enhance any trend, elevate any style, and create fashion moments that straight-size women could never achieve. Her approach to curvy fashion was sophisticated and trend-forward rather than safe and apologetic. Instead of focusing on what curvy women should, where to look smaller, Morgan focused on what looked incredible, felt authentic, and pushed fashion boundaries in ways that proved curves amplify rather than complicate cutting-edge style. The content strategy she developed around her fashion revolution was masterful in its boldness and educational value. Morgan didn't just post safe outfit combinations. She created trend-setting content that taught other curvy women how to be fashion leaders rather than fashion followers, how to set trends rather than wait for them to be adapted, and how to use their curves as creative tools rather than styling obstacles. Her influence on curvy women's fashion confidence has been transformative and measurable. Women who follow Morgan consistently reference specific changes in how they approach shopping, trend adoption, and personal style development. She gave women permission to be fashion authorities rather than fashion students waiting for approval to try new trends. The cultural significance of her revolution cannot be overstated. Every bold outfit, every trend-setting look, every fashion-forward campaign was proof that curvy women could be at the forefront of fashion innovation rather than trailing behind waiting for trends to be made appropriate for their bodies. Her approach to building fashion authority was equally strategic and differentiated. Morgan positioned herself as a style innovator rather than just a curvy girl who liked fashion. She demonstrated deep understanding of fashion forecasting, trend analysis, and style innovation that established her credibility as a legitimate fashion authority rather than just representation. The business implications of her fashion revolution were immediate and significant. Brands that partnered with Morgan discovered that trend-forward curvy representation created stronger brand positioning, higher engagement rates, and more valuable customer relationships than traditional curvy fashion marketing that played it safe and apologetic. Let's examine the sophisticated empire Morgan built by strategically monetizing something the fashion industry thought was impossible: curvy women who refused to accept limited fashion options and instead demanded to be served as the trend-setting, fashion-forward customers they actually are, with purchasing power that demands respect rather than patronizing accommodation. Morgan's empire-building strategy began with market analysis that most fashion influencers completely miss. She identified that curvy women represented a massive, underserved market of fashion-forward consumers who had significant purchasing power but were being systematically underestimated by fashion brands that assumed they wanted safe, boring styling rather than cutting-edge fashion innovation. Her content creation approach was sophisticated and trend-focused rather than safe and predictable. Instead of just showcasing basic outfits that wouldn't offend anyone, Morgan created comprehensive fashion innovation that taught curvy women how to be style leaders, how to spot emerging trends early, how to adapt runway looks for real life, how to mix unexpected pieces, and how to develop signature style that set trends rather than following them. The brand partnership strategy she developed reveals advanced understanding of fashion positioning and authentic collaboration. Morgan positioned herself as a style innovator who could deliver measurable results for brands seeking to reach fashion-forward, curvy consumers. She demanded partnerships that reflected her trend-setting authority rather than accepting basic collaborations that treated her as generic plus-size representation. Hoping for likes, Morgan brought trend analysis, style education, and fashion innovation to every piece of content. She proved that the best fashion influence comes from genuine expertise rather than just aesthetic appeal. The content strategy she developed challenged every assumption about what makes compelling fashion influence. Morgan's content demonstrated fashion knowledge, trend forecasting, and style innovation that forced brands, agencies, and industry professionals to reconsider their assumptions about what fashion audiences wanted from influencer content. Her influence on fashion influencer industry practices has been substantial and permanent. Agencies have had to expand their understanding of fashion expertise, brands have invested in more sophisticated influencer partnerships, and industry professionals have learned to value fashion knowledge as much as follower counts. The commercial success of her expertise-based approach proved that fashion knowledge isn't just personally fulfilling. It's commercially valuable for brands seeking authentic partnerships and memorable campaigns that resonate with educated audiences who appreciate genuine fashion expertise rather than just pretty pictures. Her approach to professional development was equally strategic and education-focused. Morgan invested in fashion education, trend analysis skills, and industry relationship building that established her as a serious fashion professional rather than just an influencer who happened to like clothes. The cultural impact of her influencer revolution extends beyond fashion into broader conversations about expertise, authenticity, and what makes digital influence truly valuable. Morgan's success contributed to systemic changes in how the fashion influencer industry operates and what kinds of expertise influencers are expected to demonstrate. Her mentorship of other aspiring fashion influencers has multiplied her industry impact. Morgan uses her success to elevate other knowledgeable voices, share fashion industry insights, and advocate for systemic changes that benefit all serious fashion influencers rather than just protecting her own expertise-based positioning. Here's where Morgan Lanes's impact becomes truly revolutionary. She didn't just succeed within existing curvy fashion frameworks. She completely shattered every traditional rule about what curvy women could wear, how they should style themselves, and what kinds of fashion influence they could achieve, then rebuilt the entire system around creative freedom, trend-setting authority, and commercial success that proves fashion rules are artificial limitations rather than style necessities. Fashion rules for curvy women have historically been designed to maintain artificial restrictions and exclude voluptuous women from full participation in fashion innovation and trend-setting. Success was supposed to require following safe styling guidelines, accepting limited options, and being grateful for basic representation rather than demanding the creative freedom that fashion should provide to everyone. Morgan looked at these rules and decided they were completely irrelevant to her success and her audience's creative desires. Instead of trying to work within existing restrictions, She ignored them completely and created her own framework that was so compelling and commercially successful that the fashion industry had to acknowledge her authority and adapt to accommodate her influence. Her approach to fashion freedom challenged every assumption about what curvy women could wear and how they should express themselves through style. Instead of accepting industry limitations, Morgan built her own authority based on creative results, proven fashion innovation, and deep understanding of what curvy women actually wanted from fashion experiences. The content creation rules she broke were equally significant. While traditional curvy fashion content was supposed to be safe rather than innovative, educational rather than inspirational, and focused on rules rather than creativity, Morgan created content that was bold and inspiring, creative and profitable, and focused on possibilities rather than restrictions. Her influence on fashion marketing practices has been transformative. Brands working with Morgan discovered that creative freedom creates better engagement, stronger customer loyalty, and higher conversion rates than traditional rule-based marketing that restricted curvy women's fashion choices rather than expanding them. Morgan Lanes's influence extends far beyond personal success into fundamental transformation that's reshaping how the global fashion industry thinks about curvy creativity, style innovation, and the commercial value of serving fashion-forward curvy women rather than limiting their creative expression through outdated industry assumptions and patronizing marketing approaches. The transformation she created in global curvy fashion representation is unprecedented and permanent. Before Morgan's rise, curvy women were essentially relegated to safe fashion content, rarely positioned as style innovators or trendsetters. Her success proved that creative representation isn't just morally right, it's commercially essential for fashion brands seeking sustainable growth in diverse markets. Her impact on curvy women's fashion confidence worldwide cannot be overstated. Women across different countries and cultures credit Morgan with helping them develop creative personal style, experiment with fashion trends confidently, and pursue fashion careers they previously thought were impossible. She transformed how millions of women approach fashion creativity and personal expression. The economic implications of her global influence are substantial and measurable. Morgan's success forced fashion brands worldwide to invest in serving creative curvy women better, creating innovative jobs, unique business opportunities, and fashion market segments that generate substantial revenue annually while elevating industry standards for curvy fashion. Her approach to authentic global fashion influence offers a model for sustainable international creative impact. Morgan achieved worldwide recognition while maintaining her innovative voice, serving her fashion-forward audience excellently, and building genuine creative connections across cultural boundaries rather than diluting her style message for mass appeal. The educational impact of her global platform has been transformative for fashion industry understanding. Fashion schools, design programs, and styling courses study her approach as a case study in creative innovation, trend-setting influence, and sustainable fashion business development that serves rather than restricts creative expression. Her influence on international fashion industry practices has been substantial. Brands operating in global markets have had to expand their creative representation strategies, invest in innovative fashion partnerships, and reconsider their assumptions about what fashion-forward consumers want from creative fashion content and styling experiences. The mentorship and platform amplification aspect of her global influence creates lasting creative impact beyond her personal success. Morgan uses her fashion platform to elevate other innovative voices, support emerging creative talent, and advocate for systemic changes that benefit all fashion-forward curvy women rather than just protecting her own creative opportunities. Your mission is absolutely clear. Go follow Morgan Lanes immediately and study her empire-building strategy, like the masterclass in fashion innovation it represents. Don't just admire her creative content. Analyze how she transformed curvy authenticity into trend-setting success, style expertise into fashion authority, and personal creativity into systematic industry transformation. Whether you're building your own fashion brand, working in style innovation, or trying to understand how creative representation creates lasting commercial and cultural power, Morgan's playbook is your blueprint for fashion success that actually serves creative audiences while generating substantial wealth and industry influence. Hit that subscribe button if this deep dive proved that the most powerful form of fashion influence isn't following safe rules. It's being so creatively excellent that entire fashion industries have to evolve to accommodate your innovative expertise. Morgan Lanes didn't just become a successful curvy fashion influencer. She became a blueprint for creative fashion innovation that's changing how the style industry operates worldwide. The fashion world can keep its outdated rules while Morgan continues building creative empires, transforming style cultures, and proving that curves combined with creative brilliance create success that transcends traditional restrictions and redefines what fashion innovation looks like in the modern world.